Do you struggle with asking for help as an entrepreneur? I do. In this video, I'm going to share with you how to overcome the thing that might be holding you back from achieving your goals.
Hello, what's your name?
Hello everyone, my name is Alejandro. I am an entrepreneur and I help freelancers start and grow their web consulting business. If you want to learn more about what I do, the link is on the description below. So don't mind me, I'm going to be looking at my notes. I want to be intentional in my sharing. So it is very common that people, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you don't ask for help. And here is a common few reasons why that might be. The first one is you might feel like it's this fear of appearing weak or incompetent. And nobody wants to feel that, right? Nobody wants to look bad. And one of the most important things to note is that it could be very challenging for asking for help, especially the more success you have. At least this has been what has occurred with me. The more success you have, the more like, oh, I'm not gonna ask for help because I feel weak and I need to figure this out on my own. And it's all these limited beliefs that honestly just holds us back. The second thing is the desire for independence. Right? If you value your independence, you do things alone, the least thing you're gonna do is you're gonna ask for help. And sometimes we just choose to suffer by ourselves when in reality we don't really need to suffer. There's other ways to solving problems without having to bang our head against the wall. So asking for help can seem as you're compromising your value, especially if you're like, I'm independent, I do this, and look, I've been unemployed for over a decade. I haven't had a paycheck for over a decade. I've been, the money I make is through my businesses. So, this independent core value, is embedded in me right now, and it becomes a crutch if I am just leaning too much on that. And in reality, I'm not compromising my value. I'm just making things up. So the third one is perfectionism, the striving for perfection. When you want everything to be perfect and you actually share with other people that you need some help, that is opening up yourself as someone who, oh wait, is not perfect. There are some gaps. It's broken. It's not perfect, and we don't want to go out and tell people, hey, we have something that's broken. We want to make sure that it's all perfect and figured out. Point number 4, past experiences. This is a big one for me. Like for the longest time, I grew up with a single mom. We lived in my cousin's bedrooms and houses, and one of the things that I still to this day, again, I battle this daily, is I don't want to be an inconvenience to people. I have a limited belief that I constantly work on, which is, I don't want to inconvenience people. Me and my mom, so many people helped us out. That is like, I don't longer want to be an inconvenience for people. And so I have certain past experiences that just tries to validate that limited belief when in reality, again, is false, and it doesn't serve anybody. The 5th one, pride. Sometimes we're just too prideful for asking for help. Our ego gets the best of us. I always tell people ego and awareness cannot coexist in the same room. You'll never see them together. It's either awareness in the room or ego in the room. And clearly when you are struggling and awareness is out of the room and you have ego in your room, what's going to happen is you're not going to ask for help. Why? Because your ego is on the way. And so pride, we think that we have it all figured out, and we don't want to look bad. And who wants to look bad, right? So that's number 5. Number 6, not wanting to burden others. Again, this comes with like my past experience of like, I don't want to be an inconvenience to people. Sometimes we feel that, people already have problems. Why am I going to be dropping my problems onto other people? And it's interesting because if you think about it, a lot of people rather solve other people's problems than their own. And there is a joy of, there is more joy of giving than actual receiving. And I find that to be very true. And so, not wanting to burden others, reason number 6. You might feel that you're imposing, again, your problems towards other people. And the belief is, other people have other problems. The least thing I need to do is bring my problems, which again is very limiting. It doesn't serve us. And last but not least, on awareness of need. Because of what I shared earlier, you having ego inside the room and awareness outside the room, you lack awareness. We lack awareness. So now it's like we don't realize that, hey, we need some help. And this could be something that can be taken care of if we just get out of our brain and just expose it and just, poke at it with other people that are not so deep in it. And sometimes we just wait way too long, like our pain tolerance. I was talking to a buddy of mine, Rich, brilliant entrepreneur. He was telling me, like lowering his pain tolerance because he can go through and suffer and wait till the last minute to ask for help. And it was just amazing when he shared that. Rich is someone that is an amazing entrepreneur. He's very successful at what he does, brilliant guy. And I actually reached out to him yesterday, asking for help. And I shared my vulnerability. Dude, I have a hard time asking for help. And he was so kind to open up himself and allowing me to share this with him. So Rich, if you're watching, my brother, thank you so much for being there. You're amazing. Recognizing these reasons why we don't ask for help is extremely important. And it's definitely been important for me as someone that's continually working on this. We're going together, by the way. This is not just for you guys. This is for me as well. And so here are some strategies that might be able to help. Strategy number 1 is reframing the asking for help. And what I mean by reframing, if you didn't learn anything from this video, just remember this. Frames create focus. And if you don't believe me, there's a reason why when you have a painting, people put frames on it. Why? Because we want to make sure that it places a focus on that painting. And a lot of times we have these paintings in our house, in our mind, that are not serving us. And we're constantly looking at them and to remind us on, yep, that's right, we're an inconvenience to people. Yep, that's right, I have this fear of this thing. Yep, that's right, I did this one thing and it didn't work. Right? And our goal here is to go to this little thought, this little painting in your brain, and we're going to change the frame, we're going to change the painting. And so when we reframe this thought, it's going to actually serve us instead of taking from us. So reframe asking for help. So instead of I'm an inconvenience for people, or I can do this on my own, I don't need anybody, view it as a strength rather than a weakness. Think about it. How strong do you have to be to, like, especially mentally strong, do you have to be to ask for help without giving a, just like, hey, I need help? Like, how, that to me is amazing. That's a strength. If anything, that's the strength more than a weakness for sure. And I can't wait to continue working on that because I see other people when they ask for help and I'm like, man, that's amazing. I don't look at them as weak. I don't believe I've ever thought of anyone who's asked for help as weak. The only thing that I could say is if somebody hasn't tried enough and they're being lazy and you can tell, then I'm like, hey, dude, that rubs me the wrong way. For example, hey, how do I reset my router? Come on, like there's Google for that. Like, I want to be able to see that you at least try something. Hey man, I Googled it, I did this, I did that, it's not working, I'm stressing out, like, dude, I'm at my last straw, and that's why I'm calling you. It's like, okay, cool. At least I know you weren't just being lazy, right? I think there's a fine line here. We'll love your thoughts on that. So, reframing it, asking for help, we're viewing it as a strength instead of a weakness, and it shows self-awareness and willingness to grow. Next, start small. By asking for small favors and small advice, we get to practice asking for help. Like, hey, let me just ask a person just this quick thing, or, let me just, if you're part of a community, or, you know, if you're going to, like, if you're working at a place at your job, or, you have employees, and like asking them for advice, like little advice, will start getting us to practice that muscle of it's okay to ask for help. Turn around here. So start small, right? Everybody tries to go to the gym, try to lift 100 pounds. If this is our weakness, let's just start with the 5-pound dumbbells. Third, join a community. I always tell people joining a community is one of the most important things that you should do as an entrepreneur. Going through this roller coaster of upside downs alone can be detrimental to your mental health, to your motivation. Isolation alone it will eat you alive. It will eat you alive. I promise you. I've been in this journey for way too long, and I know what it's like to try to do it alone, and the suffering. I have the scars to prove it. So joining a community, being able to surround people that are in the same journey as you. Like in my community, we're all doing the same thing. We're focusing on this one path, that we're in the same journey, and it's just amazing when we're sharing our wins, with each other. It's like everybody's celebrating us. I remember one time I closed my first $20,000 deal. We ended up going for lunch to meet up with my buddies, and I'm sitting there with my smile ear to ear, and they asked me what I was smiling about. They sensed this great energy from me, and I didn't end up. Look at this bird. Can you guys see that? Wow. I don't know if you guys saw that. That was beautiful. It's like this bird is taking this, I don't know what it is, like a snake or something. I don't know. It's crazy. And so anyways, I am here at this restaurant with my buddies, and I'm like, I noticed that some of them were saying, they had money issues and problems. And it's like, when they asked me what was up with me, I'm like, oh, nothing. And I wanted to share so bad that I just closed a $20,000 deal. And I just didn't feel it was the right place for me to share, which sucks because I was really excited. Not to show off, just like that was my first $20,000 deal. I really wanted to share that, and I had nobody to share it with. And so joining a community of people that are like-minded, that are supporting you in your journey, they're also in the same journey, is extremely, extremely valuable. There's really not a price. There's not a price for it. Just a side note, if you're looking for a community, I actually have a free community where I mentor people for free, and I do a value call every week where we help you get alignment, get you clarity, so you can move forward in your path to success. I will also drop the link to our community below in this video. So point number 4, or strategy number 4, is set realistic expectations. Like, guys, we all need help sometimes. And guys, I'm talking to myself too, by the way. Again, this is not just for you, this is for me too. It's okay not to have the answers. We do not all have the answers, right? We're in this journey together. And even with ChatGPT and all this AI, you still got to be asking the right question. There might be an abundance of information, but we lack the wisdom to ask the right question to access the right information. Not all information is good information, guys. So setting realistic expectations. We don't all have it figured out. We don't have all the answers. Like Kanye says, right? You don't got the answers, Sway. You don't got the answers. He is right. And giving ourselves permission that it's okay for us not to have the answers, right? It's totally okay. 5th, reflect on the benefits. Consider how getting help right away when you're dealing with this problem will make an impact in your personal life, in your business, if you can catch it early on. Why suffer? There's times where I would eat at my dinner table with my family, and I'm in my head because I'm trying to fix this problem that I could have easily just asked somebody and reach out, and I don't have to be banging my head against the wall. And I could have been present to my family, but instead I'm inside my head trying to figure this thing out. And so imagine the benefits that asking for help really has, and how our life could be so much differently if we just ask for help. So those are the 5 strategies for asking for help. Now here is where I take it a little bit step further. If you are someone who is neurodivergent, for example, I was diagnosed with ADHD 2 years ago, and so the struggle of asking for help all of a sudden just amplifies. Now is like 100 times more than a neurotypical person would. So if you're having difficulties asking for help, whether you are diagnosed with something that is like ADHD, whether you're neurodivergent or undiagnosed neurodivergent, keep listening, guys, because this is going to make a big difference for you. So yes, neurodivergency it will absolutely make it even a harder struggle for us to ask for help. And specifically, the reasons why is reason number 1, the executive functions. So one of the things that people like myself with ADHD, the struggle of planning, organization, tasks, initiation is something that we battle daily. There is a reason why, and before I got diagnosed, there's a reason why I've always hired an operator for my business, and I've always hired an assistant for my business. You can get a VA that would help you. Like my first VA happened because of the need of like, I know I cannot do this myself. I know I lack certain abilities, and I didn't wait long enough for that, which is funny because I was literally asking for help, and it served me really well. I haven't had a business without an assistant since I started, and I'm telling you right now, having an operator, someone that can manage your business so you can build a business that's consistent so you don't have to be, has been extremely, extremely important. So we might struggle, people with neurodivergency, we might struggle to recognize that we need help in these areas, and these are the key areas that are going to help us grow. And so just executive function issues, that's a big opportunity. This is one of the things that we don't recognize that blocks us from asking for help because we're so deep in the weeds, if you will. The second one is impulsivity and perfectionism. So impulsivity can make it very hard to pause and ask for help. If you are neurodivergent and you're trying to solve a problem, you and I both know your hyper focus kicks in, and now you're trying to fix this thing, and it's like your wife or your spouse, your partner can be right next to you, try to pull you away, and you're like, wait, it's almost done, it's almost done. Anytime my hyper focus kicks in, it just drills me in even further, and my wife kind of like janks me out of the computer, and just stepping away just resets my brain. When I come back, I actually fix the issue faster. So impulsivity and perfectionism, making sure that you have to have it perfect, you have to go through, and you have to do this now, and that can get us in the way of asking for help. ADHD is like this superpower that makes you feel like you can do everything on your own. And so if that's how we feel, then asking for help is kind of counterintuitive. Third, fear of judgment. So people with ADHD, or again, people that are neurodivergent, there's this thing called rejection sensitivity dysphoria. And like rejection, we feel rejection 100 times more than a neurotypical person. So one of the things about that is that if we have fear of judgment because we deal with rejection sensitivity dysphoria, asking for help, we have this fear that, they're going to say no, or they're not going to help us. And we know that we're going to feel that rejection so much more. And that's going to kick our butts. And so it's interesting. And I'll share this about Rich. Rich, my buddy, entrepreneur, I shared with you guys a couple minutes ago. I sent him a message, and he got stuff going on, right? He's an entrepreneur. He's doing his thing too. and he had a podcast to record. And when he said, hey, I'm about to jump on a podcast, can we do it this week? Guys, and I know, and Rich, if you're watching this, like, dude, I know it has nothing to do with you, bro. It was me. Like, I felt rejection, even though, guys, Rich has his plan. He has this thing that he has to do. Like, and the logic is logical, but my brain is like, oh, rejection. Oh, there it is. Why are you bothering him? Don't you see Rich is trying to do his podcast, and here you are trying to take away from him? And next you know, Rich, after he's done with his podcast, he gave me sent me a message. Hey, man, here's my phone number. Call me. I'm available right now. And he made himself available, which was, again, thank you, Rich. Love you, bro. But it's like the thought, the rejection, I felt it. But I am self-aware enough to know what rejection sensitivity is, to know, like, oh, dude, we're good. Like, we're good, right? So fear of judgment, point number 3. Point number 4, low self-esteem. People that have ADHD, and again, that they're neurodivergent, this ADHD contributes to low self-esteem. That's why you see a lot of people that are creatives that have either undiagnosed ADHD or have ADHD. And they're people pleasers. They want to please everyone. They want to please everyone and their mother. And so it's very hard to reach out for help when you have low self-esteem and you're like, oh, I'm not worthy of asking for help. That worthiness is a huge contributor that is very extremely associated with ADHD, and it shows up by the way of not asking for help. 5th, emotional regulation. So people with ADHD is very challenging to regulate our emotions, manage our emotions, going from feeling anxiety, overwhelm, embarrassment. We have this thing where if we start getting overwhelmed, it's very hard to regulate it. That's why for me and my business, I regulate my emotions with trackers. Like, I need data to balance myself out. If I don't have trackers in my life, I would be all over the place. And so when it comes down to emotional regulation, because there is this challenge of regulating emotions, what ends up happening is we are embarrassed for asking for help, and we end up not asking for help for the simple fact that if we ask for help, we're gonna get rejection, or we might get rejection, and then we're gonna put ourselves in anxiety mode or overwhelm, and we feel like it's gonna make it worse by asking for help, because we know that we struggle with regulating our emotions. Last but not least, number 6, hyperfocus. Hyperfocus is a superpower that comes with ADHD, and once we see something and we're like, our brain is activated, it's like detaching it is you're like super glued to this thing. Ask my wife. And so when we're on tunnel vision mode, when we're on hyperfocus mode, it's very hard to literally detach ourselves and realizing, dude, this is not working out. We've tried everything so far and it's not working. We need to ask for help. And so being able to step back is one of the challenges here that we have for people that are neurodivergent. And seeking for help is not as simple as for other people that are neurotypical. So understanding these connections with ADHD, neurodivergency is extremely important, because then you're going to be getting the right advice for your brain, right? The first advice that we went over is for neurotypical brains. And then the second part to it is for neurodivergent brains, So it's important to know what kind of brain you have, what kind of brain you're operating with. And by the way, I'm going to make a video about that, going over the type of brain that you have, to make sure that when you are listening to things, it can be applied to you and it's going to serve you. And it's things that is for you, that's not going to, end up hurting you in the long run, or not just simply not working. So here are the 5 strategies to navigate asking for help with a neurodivergent brain. Number 1, break down the task. Identify specifically what it is that you're trying to achieve, what is the bottleneck, and what it is that you need to do to actually fix it. The worst thing to do is have those things in your brain. I'm gonna show you guys a link to a resource where you can literally use. I got this from a business coach, John from Thrive. I love you, John, if you're watching this. And we put down our goals, what it is that we're trying to accomplish, what will get on the way, what is the bottleneck, and then what do we need to do to fix it. And so if you go through that process, it's going to make it extremely easier to ask for help, because you're going to be very clear on what you're asking, like why are you asking for help and what specifically you need help with. So breaking down the task. Number 2, use tools and resources. Leverage tools like reminders, list, like you can get a little on your, whether you have an iPhone or an Android, a little notification that says if you need help, ask, right? Or you can put little sticky notes on your wall where you can replace your belief of, I'm an inconvenience for people. You can cross that out, and you can put something like, I know asking for help is a strength, not a weakness, with a little check. And you're constantly seeing that. So you're using tools, resources to remind yourself of this belief. Third, seeking a professional support. If you are dealing with neurodivergency and you haven't been diagnosed, or if you have been diagnosed and you haven't done anything about it, going out of your way and getting help from a professional is extremely important. Navigating this thing called entrepreneurship is already challenging as it is, and doing so with a neurodivergent brain that's undiagnosed can be even can be even more challenging. Fourth, build a supportive network. Again, just being able to have people around you. I recently joined a first group when it comes to ADHD, and I literally just joined yesterday. And it's interesting because I've always joined things that are things about entrepreneurship. I invested tons of money in mentorship programs. Last year alone, I invested $40K in my mentor, Blake, which is freaking amazing. Love you, Blake. And I cannot stress enough the importance of learning about ADHD. Again, something that I'm doing right now. I was recently diagnosed about 2 years ago, and it's constantly something that I am exploring. So joining a community of people that are also deal with ADHD, especially in entrepreneurship, it would be extremely empowering. And then last but not least, practice self-compassion. Acknowledge that asking for help is important. There's nothing wrong with that. Self-love is something that, I kid you not, a lot of us don't do enough. The self-talk, the voice, the internal voice in our head can be very, very crude, if you will. And being able to acknowledge that there's nothing wrong with us. We're human beings. We're all here to serve one another, help one another, love one another, is a key to growing both personally and business. So that's it for now, guys. If you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe, like, or share with someone that you know could benefit from this video. Again, thank you so much. Leave anything in the comments, any other videos that you want to see. What is it, perhaps, let's do one question so we can focus. What did you get from this video? We'd love to know your thoughts, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
See you on the next video.